All right, y'all, welcome to the show. I got a big one for you. So Congress passed a law that declares you a Jew hater. That's only the slightest exaggeration that I could come up with. You'll see, pretty disgusting. We'll get to anti-genocide protesters shutting down the Golden Gate Bridge. Senator Tom Cotton threatens violence against peace protesters. Then later on, we have Cenk Uygur debates a warmonger on Piers Morgan. There's a bombshell story about the New York Times getting caught lying. Trump versus RFK, that is now getting spicy, and they're lobbing bombs at each other. And then probably one of the most important stories here, the Supreme Court just took a sledgehammer to the First Amendment, and nobody seems to notice or care. So I'm going to give you the specifics of that. I got to be honest, man, the thing that's been on my mind, I went deep down the rabbit hole of the rap battle going on right now. The warring diss tracks. We got Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, even though he retracted and apologized, and Drake, and now Rick Ross, and I'm following all that stuff closely. No, I'm not doing a segment on it. I'm not enough of a hip-hop head to get away with that and give, a solidly grounded opinion. But I will say this. I think Rick Ross's track was fire, and he was kind of irrelevant until dropping this diss. I feel like he's been in the wilderness for like 5 years or whatever it's been. And I'm like one of the biggest Drake haters on the planet, but I think his diss track was kind of fire too. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I could talk about this for like an hour, but I'm not going to do that. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it here. Everybody do me a big favor. Please subscribe to the channel. Helps out massively in the algorithm, costs you nothing. And let's do it. So this dropped yesterday in a 377 to 44 vote and one person voting present. The House of Representatives passed a resolution that defines the slogan, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," as anti-Semitic. And they condemned it. I'll give you some more specifics here. So there's only one Republican that voted against officially declaring "From the river to the sea" as anti-Semitic. That, of course, is Thomas Massie. For those of you who don't know, he's kind of like the heir apparent to the Ron Paul throne. He's like a hardcore libertarian. So every now and then he'll surprise you with a vote like this. But the other 43 no votes were Democrats. You have people like Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Of course, you have Rashida Tlaib in here. Then you have a bunch of other. I mean, the fact of the matter is over 70% of the Democrats also voted to condemn it and say that "From the river to the sea" is anti-Semitic. Right now, as you all know, Congress is in the midst of aiding and abetting a genocide, sending weapons and money to Israel, even though we have all the evidence in the world that they're targeting civilians, that they're bombing public infrastructure, that they're unleashing holy hell on the heads of women and babies. We know all of that. In the midst of sending them more money and weapons to do more war crimes, they decide to throw pro-Palestine protesters under the bus and officially declare them anti-Semitic. So there's a few things to say in response to this. I mean, the most obvious one is this. You do know that the Likud party, Netanyahu's party, "From the river to the sea" is in their charter. That is one of the things they say. They want a greater Israel. They want Israeli control from the river to the sea. They've said that. Have you ever heard anybody in Congress come out and say, "I condemn that, that's anti-Palestinian hatred," or "that's Islamophobia"? No, nobody says anything when Israelis say that. But when pro-Palestine protesters say "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," all of a sudden it's a national scandal and people melt down and you start hurling accusations. Now, by the way, the thing that pisses me off the most about this is that they know it's not true. So are there instances of some people, when they say "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," that what they mean is let's expel every Jewish person or every Israeli from the region? Let's force them out. Let's do an ethnic cleansing in that direction. I have no doubt that when you see a video of one of the top Hamas officials on some Iranian news program saying "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," and he says it within the context of "We're going to do another October 7th and another October 7th and another October 7th," I have no problem condemning that guy in that context using that phrasing. But what they're specifically doing here is going after, like, college protesters who are saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And if you just ask those people, hey, what do you mean when you say from the river to the sea? They'll tell you in no uncertain terms. And I know because I've done this. I've asked them. I've gotten their perspective. Their perspective is what we want is one state in the region and a secular democracy for all. We want equality. We want justice. We want peace. We want Palestinians and Israelis to live and all have human rights and voting rights. And that's our end goal. So how can you look at somebody who has that perspective and then turn around and say, sorry, you're an anti-Semite. Sorry, you're a Jew hater. Sorry, what you just said is condemnable. It's so ironic because the actual position being espoused by the college kids who are saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, the actual position is one in favor of democracy, one in favor of one person, one vote, one in favor of, hey, your background, your ethnicity, and your religion doesn't matter. You should be equal under the law. And now Congress comes out and says, no, we condemn that. You're an anti-Semite if you take that position. This is what they're in the midst of. They are literally policing the language of activists as they also turn around and send more fighter jets and missiles to be used on carpet bombing children. I cannot explain to you in strong enough terms just how much absolute disdain and hatred I have for these people. I have disdain and I have hatred. Because they are going out of their way. But by the way, like I just said, they know that when college kids say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, they know it's a call for liberation and human rights. They know it's not the same as when some Hamas militant says it in the context of saying we're going to do more October 7th and kill civilians. They know it's not the same. But the point is to smear. The point is to dismiss and push outside of the Overton window. Say, you're not being civil enough. You're violating the norms. You're calling for violence. Now, by the way, how many times have we heard U.S. Congress people and also IDF officials and Israeli government officials say the most brazen, over-the-top genocidal things you've ever heard? I haven't seen a congressional condemnation of the people who said there are no civilians in Gaza. I haven't heard a congressional condemnation of the people who said Palestine should be wiped off the map. We've got 1,000 videos from pro-Palestine protesters in the halls of Congress pressing representatives where they just come out and say the most genocidal thing you've ever heard in your life. By the way, we have one of those protesters on Crystal Kyle and Friends this week. You should definitely check out Motaz. He is Palestinian. He's pressing these Congress people. It doesn't take much for them to immediately come out and say the most genocidal things you've ever heard in your life. And never do you hear a condemnation coming from Congress if the genocidal language, legit genocidal language, is on the pro-Israeli side. They act like it didn't happen, or they act like it was taken out of context, or they just totally ignore it and use utter indifference as their tool. By the way, that is the main tool, right? Utter indifference. Because how many times have we heard there is no such thing as a Palestinian civilian? There is no such thing. How many times have we heard, well, they could have overthrown Hamas, so they're guilty enough? How many times have we heard calls for complete and utter collective punishment? People backing the idea of a medieval siege where you starve 2.3 million people, ostensibly to go after the 30,000 Hamas members. How many times have we heard all these things? We hear them on a daily basis. But here we are. They're going after pro-Palestine protesters, doing a liberation call. I can't, man. I can't deal with it. It's so obnoxious. And I think the thing that's most disturbing is just how unbelievably shattered the ethical and moral compass of our elected officials is. It's just, they wouldn't know morality if it dropped on their head like a fucking anvil. This is how they're spending their time. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.